Nationwide, there is a push to use new technology to try and solve crime across the country. And it's already in place here at home. These are called automated license plate readers. You've probably seen these before. They take many different forms. They're high-speed readers that capture images of license plates in real time, typically record the number, location, date, and time. The data, which can include pictures of cars and potentially their drivers, is then uploaded to a server and cross-referenced. And police can use that info for all sorts of things. Kansas City, Kansas police even have the feeds running to what they call their real-time command center, and they let us have a look. They've had their system in place for a couple of years now, using cameras and plate readers to analyze crime patterns, watch a vehicle's movement, even catch up with drivers minutes after a crime.
A year ago, we had an armed robbery where an individual was robbed at gunpoint, and within 30 minutes, based on our technology and our camera system, we were able, one, to get his car back and to catch the suspect. So I'll trade that off any day.
KCK's chief stresses having the cameras has reduced crime in his city. He says every patrol car has a smartphone that can access this data in real time. So generally, police love these readers, right? Because it puts more information at their fingertips. Critics argue the costs here may outweigh the benefits, especially when it comes to your privacy. They're concerned about the implications of police tracking everyday movements with what in some cases could be considered a nationwide mass surveillance system. They point to cases of abuse, some as close as Kansas. One police chief near Wichita resigned after admitting to using the readers and cameras to track his ex-girlfriend. One of the main concerns has to do with the data itself and what it's used for outside of local law enforcement. One company paused a pilot program, shared collecting information with ICE after public pushback. Policies can differ depending on the vendor and department. Some cities, like Denver, even voted to stop using license plate readers because of privacy concerns.
It's not that this can't be a useful tool, but that's the thing about mass surveillance. It's always a useful tool. If we simply attached a GPS tracker to every Denverite, we would solve most crimes, but we don't do that because we have constitutional rights and norms around surveillance.
Here at home, there are some attempts at being transparent. Lee Summit Police, for example, have an online portal explaining what's kept, what's shared, and for how long. They purge their data after 30 days. Let's get to the heart of the matter with Michael Seufer, an attorney with Institute for Justice, which has experience with privacy cases involving these readers. Thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, new technology is all around us. What concerns you about these plate readers specifically?
So these license plate readers create a running record of people's movements everywhere they go in their cars for 30 days at a time. And people can mine that for insights into habits and routines that just weren't possible before the digital era. So the Supreme Court has said that you have an expectation of privacy in, quote, the whole of your movements. And we've seen in a lot of places really dense license plate reader networks go up. In the city of Norfolk, Virginia, which IJ has a lawsuit against right now, there are 176 license plate readers. There are other cities all across the country where there are hundreds of readers. And all of these cities are pooling data, creating these massive, massive troves that can be mined for insights into people's habits and routines. The Supreme Court has said that that violates the Fourth Amendment. You have a reasonable expectation of privacy in your movements. And if the police are going to violate that, they should have to go to a court and get a warrant.
We took the privacy concerns to local police using these readers. I wanted to play a little bit of sound for you from the police chief of Kansas City, Kansas.
Your privacy is not being compromised because I would say the majority of our cameras are public areas where you have no expectation to privacy. Second of all, our cameras are only used for investigative or to reduce criminal activity.
So what's your response to that?
My response to that is it's based on decades-old Supreme Court cases from the 80s when they were, putting beepers in people's cars to try to tail them more effectively. That's not what modern-day license plate readers are. These are vast systems that are meant to track people's movements for weeks and weeks at a time. You might not have an expectation of privacy in someone seeing that you turn left at an intersection. You do have an expectation of privacy in someone knowing every time you've turned left at that intersection in the past 30 days and every other intersection you went to across an entire city. People have a reasonable expectation of privacy in their long-term movements.
As we said, the storage rules for this data differ kind of department to department. Is there a push to standardize what's used, what's shared, and how long agencies can keep this information?
There's a patchwork kind of across states where different states have different standards. Different license plate reader manufacturers and vendors have different default periods for which they store data. It's just kind of a patchwork all across the country.
And finally, as we wrap up here, what should the public know about these readers, and do they have any recourse at all?
So the public should know that your data are not safe. They're being placed in massive databases, made available to lots of different law enforcement agencies, sometimes outside of your community, sometimes outside of your state, with little accountability. Often the searches of these data are not genuinely audited. People aren't going in and really looking at the reasons that officers are searching these data. And with this type of location data, someone can tell a lot about you. We've seen all sorts of abuses across the country about these data, and people definitely have recourse. Talk to your public officials, talk to legislators, talk to mayors, governors, talk to your police departments, police chiefs. And if you think your Fourth Amendment rights are being violated, then you can sue to enforce them.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Michael Seufer with Institute for Justice, thank you so much for your insight. Learn more about the implications of automated license plate readers and the Institute's work right now online at plateprivacy.com. And trust, KMBC 9 News is tracking your tax dollars and what these types of programs mean for you and your privacy. Look for updates on air and online at kmbc.com.